Ring of Fire update. Are 60,000 earthquakes a sign of a big one brewing in the Pacific? Well, the Pacific is always surprising us, as we found out from the White Island volcano that erupted out of nowhere in the North Island of New Zealand. And tremendous amount, well, this is it, as you can see. So, what does that mean? Well, we also have a Russian volcano ready to erupt. I have to make another video on that one. We have the Cascadia arc, the tremors, no, I shouldn't call them tremors, the small earthquakes that are not felt by most people, but they're still there. And they are taking place. So when I do report on the Cascadia quakes, people say, well, I don't feel anything. Okay, but they're small, that's why. If they were on the East Coast, they're felt 10 times more than they're felt on the West Coast. But still, they're there, and that's still a worrying sign. But just like, for example, the earthquakes that they had in swarms before the White Island volcano erupted. Out of nowhere, they said. But anyway. So, nearly 60,000 earthquakes rocked the planet in the last year. That's more than 4,700 that struck last month. But could these earthquakes be a sign of a big one in the Pacific Ring of Fire? Sebastian Ketley, Express UK. Now the thing is, they have been warning us. The geologists have been warning the New Zealanders concerning a North Island earthquake, a mega thrust, because that's a subduction zone there, and also the South Island. So basically, all of New Zealand was being warned of a huge earthquake. And they warned them of earthquakes, but they didn't warn of volcanic eruptions. Because they don't want to panic people as well. But still, earthquake track concerning the Pacific recorded an astonishing 59,841 tremors, meaning earthquakes, around the globe in the past year. In the last month, it was a total of 4,172, and that were higher than 1.5 magnitude, and were felt 895 hit in the last 7 days, about a 900 in the last week, that is. And today, a 5.6 magnitude was felt in southwest of Africa, just one of the 118 earthquakes around the globe. Now, the frequent eruption of earthquakes prompted some to fear that there may be a bigger one coming. And our friend Terrell Blackstar has told us that we're overdue for a 7 quake. We haven't had a 7 quake in something like, I don't know how many days, 200 days, I think, a tremendous amount of days. And he says that we're in for a big earthquake, like a 7 earthquake. Now, Emma Scott wrote on Twitter, y'all, all of these earthquakes sitting around the world are giving me so much anxiety. And she said, I live like literally right on the fault line. And our last big one was 1886, and we're totally due for another, and I'm just never going to sleep again. Okay, thanks, she said. Another person wrote on Twitter, I grew up in a very earthquake-prone city. You get used to them after a few years and continue hope that it's never a big one. Another person said, earthquake growing up, I remember California having a decent-sized quake every few years. I feel like they're way overdue, and that's bad news. Big one soon or massive one later. Yikes. Okay, the earthquakes, the San Andreas Fault is on hiatus as far as the bigger earthquakes are concerned. After Ridgecrest, Dr. Lucy Jones of Caltech came out and told us, don't think that because Ridgecrest has struck, that lessens the chance of the big one on the San Andreas, the southern area that is around Los Angeles. So she said that immediately. Remember that? July 5th? She says it no way mitigates, it no way lessens the southern San Andreas Fault from striking with a big earthquake. So they did come out, she at least came out to tell us this. Now, the big one is expected to hit along the Pacific Ring of Fire, targeting the San Andreas, in California, of course. They did have another big one in 1906 in San Francisco. It came close to a big one. That's when San Francisco was hit by 7.9, devastating the city. So 7.9 is pretty big, don't you think? Now, at that time, there were only about 800,000 people living there. Now there's over 8 million. And the Bay Area there is basically landfill. And most of those people are living and working in the landfill Bay Area, which is going to turn into liquefaction once a big one hits, that is. Now, a major earthquake could injure thousands, hundreds of thousands, and that at time there injured 225,000, leaving thousands of homeless, and leveled the city, and then they had to be moved over to Oakland. Across the bay, according to the USGS, there is a 31% chance magnitude 7.5 could hit Los Angeles in the next 30 years. I think that chance is much bigger than 31. I think it's like 65 to 70%. But anyway, I'm reading the article. There is also, they say, 20% chance that a powerful quake will strike San Francisco Bay Area in the next 30 years. And some believe that California is more than 200 years overdue for another big one. There's also evidence to suggest a big one will strike U.S. or the Ring of Fire quite soon. So, geophysicist Edwin Nissen, University of Victoria, warned that such big earthquakes can strike without warning. And he told Progress that we can't predict earthquakes and we are 1 million miles away from being able to. And earthquake experts also said it's wrong to say the next earthquake is overdue, but it is correct to say it might happen tomorrow. It might happen tomorrow, or it might happen in 100 years. Now, the largest ever earthquake to hit was a magnitude 9.5. It hit Chile in May 22nd, 1960. There's, of course, another city which is situated on the Ring of Fire. Now, the Ring of Fire is the hotbed of earthquakes and volcanic activity. It runs along the rim of the Pacific Ocean, which is the biggest tectonic plate in the world. USGS said most earthquakes and volcanic eruptions do not strike randomly, but they occur in specific areas, such as along the plate boundaries. One such area is the Circum-Pacific Ring of Fire, where the Pacific Plate meets many surrounding plates, and the Ring of Fire is the most seismically and volcanically active zone in the world. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.